We've all watched wrestling wondering if the pain of the wrestlers was real in the ring. Of course, the answer is yes. They face significant risks on a regular basis. Sooner or later, they will have to face physical issues, but some will never recover from them. It's a pleasure to meet you on the Wrestling Paradise to introduce you to the most shocking injuries in the WWE. Are you ready to be shocked to learn how a horrible injury ruined Joey Mercury's career? Do you want to know more about the day Triple H almost killed someone by accident? Do you want to find out why The Undertaker has vision problems that bother him in his daily life? And are you curious to learn how John Cena already had his nose completely broken? You have come to the right place, because in our video we will see together several violent moments that had important consequences on superstars' careers. You are on the Wrestling Paradise, WWE's most shocking injuries. Here we go. If there is one wrestler who is famous for his ability to come back quickly from an injury, it must be John Cena. We remember his miraculous return at the 2008 Royal Rumble, when he was supposed to be away for many months after it. In any case, in 2015, he was the victim of an injury that is spectacular visually. It's July on Monday Night Raw, one of the Federation's weekly shows. In a match against Seth Rollins, they exchange several punches. John ends up taking a knee right in the nose, and he collapses, something quite rare for Cena. His nose was broken by this blow.
Joey can stand toe-to-toe with John. He did a pretty damn.
Despite the blood and the pain, he still finished the match as planned, which is to his credit. A photo of him shows us how much his nose had been damaged. It will not prevent him from returning quickly, which is his specialty. We can say that in his injury history, we see his warrior character who never gives up. For years, he seemed unstoppable, since he had injured his pectoral at the end of 2007, his neck in 2008, his triceps in 2013. Whether we like him or not, we can only respect his perseverance. A common point between the greatest wrestling legends is their ability to always come back stronger after important injuries. Triple H is a perfect illustration of this. In his career, he had several very serious problems that could have stopped him forever. We have an example of this in the fall of 2002. At Survivor Series, there was the first Elimination Chamber match of all time. The Game defended his belt there against Rob Van Dam, Kane, Booker T, Chris Jericho, and Shawn Michaels. There will be a sequence between Triple H and Rob Van Dam, the King of Extreme. In a rather risky move, his knee touched the cerebral assassin's throat, who will no longer be able to breathe properly. He will have to spend the night in the hospital. He will later tell that, when he saw Rob preparing his spot, he was already worried. He noticed he could not stand up straight. This will not prevent him from continuing the match, which is really part of the wrestling mindset. No matter what happens, we never stop and we go to the end of what is planned. Yet he could no longer talk in the ring the following minutes. This injury could have destroyed his windpipe, according to the doctors. We can only respect the Game for this performance. Let's continue with a wrestler who is not very famous, but his injury is quite shocking. His name is Marty Garner, and his fate is linked to Triple H's. In the mid-90s, the latter was on the rise, with a sometimes destructive pedigree finisher that will become iconic. It's May 29, 1996, on the WWE Superstars show, when the future legend faces Marty in a match. The execution of the pedigree will go completely wrong. At the moment of undergoing it, he threw himself too hard and will land directly on his head. His neck will be seriously damaged by this. Apparently, there would have been a misunderstanding between the two men. Marty expected that the young Triple H would rather do some kind of pile driver, which is a move where he would have rather went above him. In any case, right after that, the cerebral assassin will be very worried. He will ask him several times if he was sure he was okay. In reality, Marty had no idea what the pedigree was. This incident shows us how a lack of communication between wrestlers can have major consequences. Edge is a wrestler who knows injuries very well, since they almost made him stop wrestling for good. You probably know he had to retire in 2011 because of a very serious neck problem. But he made a miraculous comeback at the 2020 Royal Rumble, one of the most memorable moments of the decade. However, the story of his return hasn't exactly been a fairy tale. A few months after this Royal Rumble, he was in the middle of a rivalry with Randy Orton when they had a big clash at the Backlash show. It was billed as the greatest wrestling match ever. However, Edge will remember this for other less positive reasons. On that day, barely 5 months after his return, he was injured again. During this match, he will tear his triceps, which will force him to step away from the ring until the next Royal Rumble. But like other legends, he always comes back better from these challenges. He will win the Battle Royale and participate in the main event of WrestleMania a few months later. A beautiful rebirth for the rated R superstar, whose 2021 year will be one of the best ones of his career. At the 2020 Royal Rumble, Edge's wife, wrestler Beth Phoenix, also showed impressive resilience. She participated in the Women's Battle Royal, entering there in 19th position. It was a significant event since she had not wrestled for several months, knowing that, about 10 years before, she was one of the most dominant competitors.
Has locked eyes with the Queen Charlotte.
In this match, she was in a ring corner with Bianca Belair. After a shot from Bianca, her head will go backwards and hit the post. The consequence is immediately visible. She gets a cut on her skull and bleeds a lot. Her hair will turn red with blood. Like the rated R superstar, she will be persevering and fighting. She will continue the match with the same intensity, even being one of the very last competitors in the ring. The match will finally be won by Charlotte Flair, but we will remember this awesome performance by Beth Phoenix. We are at the Backlash show in 2023. In this event that took place in Puerto Rico, Brock Lesnar faced Cody Rhodes. We can say this match started very strongly since the American Nightmare will jump on Brock while he was still doing his entrance. This beginning of the bout showed us that it would be a brutal confrontation. A little later, Cody will remove a pad in one of the ring corners, which is also surprising since he was a good guy who is not supposed to cheat. Lesnar will blow his head off on it, which will injure him. The Beast Incarnate will bleed profusely. At that moment, we can wonder if it was planned. Indeed, the WWE absolutely wanted to avoid having wrestlers bleed with its family-friendly and politically correct side. The match will end quickly. Then on Raw, we will see Brock Lesnar with a scar and staples. For a warrior like him, it's not much. We are talking about a man who fought in the UFC, who overcame a serious illness in his personal life. But his injuries in the ring are rare enough to be reported. It is obvious for everyone that women are just as brutal as men in modern wrestling. They regularly face injuries, and Bianca Belair showed us just that in 2022. At WrestleMania 38, she had an intense battle against Becky Lynch to win the Raw Women's title. It was the culmination of a rivalry that began at SummerSlam 2021, when the Irish woman made a tremendous comeback and won Bianca's title in just a few seconds. Belair will have her revenge, but not at any price. At one point, Becky Lynch does a jump from the top rope where her feet violently hit Bianca's face. It will leave a mark on her. When we see her again a few days later and she takes off her sunglasses, she will reveal a pretty impressive black eye. It was completely closed, which also disabled her in her match against Becky Lynch. This injury will eventually heal, but it shows us how Bianca Belair and her colleagues are real warriors in the ring. Another great wrestler who already had a nose injury is The Undertaker. The dead man is considered by many to be the greatest of all time. With a legendary career that lasted 30 years and many intense battles, it is only logical that he paid the price physically. It's 2010 at SmackDown. In a match against Rey Mysterio, the luchador hit his face after a failed springboard move. Following this, he was holding his nose and even bled. He told that at that moment, his nose broke twice. The first time, he was able to put his nose back in the center by squeezing it very tightly. But the second one left permanent damage. In an interview with Joe Rogan, he told that since that day he has vision problems. Some nerves were crushed when his nose broke and they never returned to normal. It can bother him a lot in his daily life, to park a car for example. So this is an incident that really had an impact on The Undertaker's life. It's 2013 at the Money in the Bank show. In this wind of change there was in the WWE at that time, Randy Orton won the briefcase. It will make him become an excellent villain during the following months. But on that day, there was also an injury. It was his colleague Sheamus who was the victim of it. At some point, the Irishman will take a ladder shot from Daniel Bryan, the one who had a tremendous popularity at that time. While falling on another ladder outside the ring, Sheamus hurts his shoulder. There will be some damage. He will suffer from a torn labrum. This incident will force him to leave for several months until a surprise return at the 2014 Royal Rumble. It should be noted that in the same match, Rob Van Dam and CM Punk will also have physical repercussions from this battle. Anyway, ladder matches are among the most violent ones in wrestling, and this 2013 Money in the Bank proves it. As for Sheamus, he will finally have his revenge by winning this briefcase in 2015, which will enable him to win the main title a few months later. A horrible injury took place in the Armageddon show in December 2006. There was a ladder match for the tag team title between the Hardy Boys, Kendrick and London, Regal and Taylor, and finally Morrison and Mercury. It is the latter who will be the victim. There was a sequence during which Matt Hardy grabbed Mercury and Morrison's skulls while his brother Jeff performed a maneuver on a ladder. As you might expect, it ended badly. You can see it. Poor Joey Mercury gets the ladder right in the face, in a brutal shock. His nose will be broken in 4 places, his left eye would no longer open, and he had permanent internal bleeding in his nose and eye. He will say that he was never hit so hard in his life. It was as if he got hit with a baseball bat in the face by a professional player. He will be severely damaged by it, just as his career. While he was a promising young wrestler, he would fall into an addiction to painkillers, which added to his alcohol and drug problems. He will be fired 3 months later. And that was it for these most shocking injuries in the WWE. Seeing all the damage they can do to the health of the wrestlers, we can only admire their sacrifices. They really put their lives on the line at all times to entertain us. Through each example, we could see there is this incredible mentality of never stopping. They are real-life superheroes who deserve an incredible amount of respect. It makes me offer you a debate. In your eyes, which one is the most shocking injury? We invite you to come and give your opinion. It will be interesting to talk about it together in the comments and to share our points of view. We can say that pro wrestling really is fascinating. I hope you had a good time watching this video, and I invite you to stay on the Paradise of Wrestling to look at some other ones. See you right away.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so. What?